All right, everybody, good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. It is the last day before we start our 2025 NFL Draft deep dives. I am getting ready for it. There's a lot of stuff I have to prepare for. There's a lot of data that I have to put together and a lot of videos that I have to record, but it is going, and I think we're going to have a very fulfilling next month or so on the channel, but this video is not about that. This video is about the just recently released Sam Darnold contract details. That's right. We finally have Sam Darnold contract details. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I have never seen a contract structured quite like this. And I also want to say real quick, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that radically different than any other contract in ultimate effect, but this is definitely something outside the realm of what I typically see with these contracts. I'll put it to you that way. At the very least, we can say that. So Over the Cap has it. I think Spotrac has it as well, but OTC tends to get better data anyway. So looking at Over the Cap, let's pull this apart here. Yeah, this is very atypical of the way NFL contracts get structured. So the first thing that jumps out to you, so it's 3 years, $100.5 million. The first year has the biggest cap hit. The first year has the biggest cap hit. 37.5 million. You don't see that every day. That is not something that you expect to see all that often. Usually, NFL contracts are either backloaded or they flow gradually upwards because it's understood the cap is going to go up every year. So having bigger cap hits down the line is typically considered to be better. And also, while we're at it, it's also understood that as you get later in the contract, it's much less likely the player is going to still be on that contract when that year comes around. So you can feel a little more liberated to put the big figures in the back because the player isn't going to get them. And they'll get some small portion of it maybe, but it's not going to affect you the same way the massive cap hit would have, because that cap hit is ultimately not going to really apply. So that's certainly atypical. The smallest cap hit is actually next year, and then we have another significant but not quite as big as the first year cap hit in the final year. And the second thing that's very interesting is, according to this, there is no dead money after this year. So what that means is this is basically paying Sam Darnold year to year, right? It's basically saying, hey, you can be let go at any time, and we owe you nothing. If you play out 2025, we don't like what you're doing, you're out of here, you don't get a penny. You almost never see that either. That's very atypical as well. Usually NFL contracts have some amount, even if it's a tiny amount, of guaranteed money because of the way signing bonuses work in the NFL, because of the way bonuses in general work. There's almost always some guaranteed money. It almost makes me wonder if there's something that OTC doesn't know about yet. It almost makes me wonder if OTC is in some way uninformed. You would think there would at least be a couple million. $100 million contract with no guarantees past the first year is very, very unusual in my experience. So what I'll say is this. Like I said at the start of this video, it's not necessarily going to be all that much different than a typical contract structure. I think a lot of people expected the first year cap hit would be like 15, and then it would accelerate rapidly from there. However, because the first year cap hit is so big, and then there's no guarantees past 2025, and the cap hits go down, it may end up having a similar effect. And what I mean by that is cap space rolls over, right? If you don't use cap space, it can roll over. So, by some definition, a lower cap hit followed by a release the following year with big dead money can be canceled out by the rollover cap wiping out the dead money. Now we don't have to worry about that because we're going to have the less rollover cap from 2025, but there's no dead cap to wipe away anyway. So, in effect, it could end up being the same. The trade off, as I see it, assuming these numbers are correct, and I want to stress that I'm a little bit suspicious of this because we were told that Sam Darnold's guarantees on the contract was like 55 million, and I'm not seeing that 55 million here. So I don't know. I'm a little bit suspicious of that, but again, OTC does good work. OTC almost always gets this right. Maybe the 55 million guaranteed was misreported initially. If that is true, there's a trade-off here. The trade-off is, number one, we have way less money than I thought we would in 2025. I thought the Darnold cap hit would be 20 million, maybe even 25 million almost, less than this. That gives us less money to work with for 2025. So that's kind of the downside of this. The upside, if Darnold is good, like he plays like a franchise quarterback, he plays like a top 10 quarterback, we're getting him at an extremely discounted rate in 2026. 27.5 million for a top 10 quarterback would be incredible. That would set you up for a 1-year window of just being able to pile it all in and try to go win the Super Bowl. And the next year, he probably wants an extension if he maintains that high level of play. Of course, I don't think you're going to get him on the 35.5 at that point. You're going to have to come up with an extension that's going to be close to market setting, if not actually market setting. But the important point I'm trying to make here is that for that 1 year, you would be getting something pretty darn remarkable. But that requires him to actually play at that really high level. That requires him to actually be a guy you decide, yeah, I'm going to war with this guy. So that is just something we're going to have to see about in 2025. But what I can tell you, as someone who tries to understand this stuff the best that I can, $37.5 million cap hit for Darnold in 2025 does have a negative effect. It's not exactly the same negative effect as a typical contract would have had, but our ability to spend money on other players this offseason is much less than I was expecting. And $37.5 million taken out of the cap space that I thought we had, that pretty much puts us at the point where we are going to have to do some gymnastics to get more money. And there's very little more we can do. Now, that's okay. Like I said in my previous video, if this team signs Tevin Jenkins, if they're able to get Tevin Jenkins in here on a contract and maybe bring in one depth offensive line signing like a Lucas Patrick, I don't really think they need to do that much more. But yeah, this is definitely not what I would have expected from this contract, and there is a downside. There's an upside too. There are a couple different ways to look at this. I know people are going to get very excited about the fact that there's no guaranteed money past 2025, and that is good. Like that does have its benefit. That means you're not looking at, if things don't work out here, there's not some big dead money hit we have to worry about. It's just base salary right now. But again, what I'm going to say is that that's kind of canceled out by the initial massive cap hit because of rollover cap. I guess one thing this allows you to do is you can convert base to bonus later if you like the way 2025 is going and you want to clear up cap space for a trade mid-season. That's a luxury that you have, but still, this is weird. And I want to stress, I'm not saying this is bad. It's just weird. It's atypical. You would not expect a contract like this with the way contracts are typically structured. This is probably something that we're doing because Darnold is a one-hit wonder for the time being. He's had one good season out of 7. But yeah, I'm just a little bit confuzzled right now. Maybe the 55 million guaranteed is only for injury. Maybe if he gets injured, he gets access to some guarantees. That would be maybe one thing that I would guess with the information we have right now. But yeah, sound off, guys. Let me know what you guys think. But I'm just a little bit confused right now, right? This is not typical. At the end of the day, it's unlikely to make a big difference. And look, if this team can still get like Tevin Jenkins in here on a contract, then it doesn't matter that much, right? We had enough cap space to do what we had to do. And that's really all you can ask for, right? I don't think that pumping more and more money into outside free agents is necessarily the solution here, especially when we don't know what we have for sure. But a contract structure like this, you got to untangle it a little bit because it's a little bit confusing. All right. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you guys think about this one. I broke it down the best I could. There are a few different angles here. At the end of the day, it may end up being not different than a typical contract, but for some reason they've decided to structure it this way. For some reason Sam Darnold signed off on it. It's a little bit confusing. It's definitely a little bit confusing. Again, I part of me wonders if this isn't the whole picture. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Talk more later. And yeah, we got contract details, people.